Welcome back to another episode of the Spirit of Hagyard podcast. Due to a scheduling conflict, our host, Jody Lynch Finley, is not able to join us, but we had some timely and important content for around Kentucky Derby season that we wanted to go ahead and post for you. Today we'll be wrapping up our three-part series talking about MilePet diagnostic technology with an interview we were able to do actually a number of weeks ago with Dr. William Farmer. He's the equine medical director at Churchill Downs. And he shared his thoughts with us about diagnostics, about having the MilePet technology on the grounds at Churchill Downs, and the value of the partnership that they have with Hagyard. So let's watch and hear what he had to say. What have you seen as the biggest challenge for MilePet so far with teams running at Churchill Downs?
Anytime new diagnostics modalities are introduced in veterinary medicine, I think there's always a level of skepticism. Are those pieces of modalities as good as they say they are? Do they find what they say they are? And then the second part of that is how are they used? Obviously it's a diagnostic piece, and we want to make sure that we can provide diagnostic information to a trainer, to their veterinarian. But there's also the concern about a regulatory action that may come from using that piece of equipment. And so I think it's twofold. The first part is introduction and the education of trainers and veterinarians to what that piece of equipment is specialized for, and the positive information and the diagnostic value of what is there. We've had a lot of studies that have been scientific studies that have been done to validate the machine and the information that it does provide. And the second part of that is just the comfort and the understanding of, especially here at Churchill Downs, to have it on site. We're the second racetrack in North America to have a PET machine on site. So it is a new approach to diagnostic imaging that is unfamiliar to our trainers and our veterinarians. And so it's just developing that level of comfort of walking a horse across the street from the barn area to here to the med center to have that done.
From your point of view, what's the biggest difference in MilePet technology and some of the other more traditional methods of diagnostics?
So with the positron emission tomography, or the PET machine, we are able to get a cellular look at what's going on. Traditional diagnostic imaging, so we think radiographs, x-rays, or ultrasound, we look at structure. And with the PET machine, it's functional medicine. And so we're seeing how these cells are responding to the stresses that are being applied in race training. And so this precedes what we would see on an x-ray or an ultrasound machine. And so this gives us a glimpse into the future of what's coming down the road for this particular horse. And so there is huge value when we're preparing a horse for a very competitive season, if they're getting ready for a string of really competitive races, to know that they've got their horse in the best shape that they can going into that race, and they're not dealing with any underlying issues.
Some people are saying having MilePet at Churchill will keep horses off the track longer. What's your point of view?
The goal of having the PET machine here at Churchill Downs in our partnership with Hagyard is that we can keep horses in racing longer. Obviously, diagnostic imaging, we find issues. We want to identify issues. But having the piece of equipment here, our goal is that we can understand those issues at a much earlier level and time period. And so rather than that horse being away from racing or leaving racing completely, we may have to adjust, or the trainer and their veterinarian may adjust their training schedule or the immediate time period around when that's been identified. But ultimately, those horses stay in our racing population healthier, safer, and longer.
What's the one benefit of this technology that you think will surprise owners and trainers?
I think that the PET machine brings to us our first opportunity where we can really give a good estimation or diagnosis to a trainer and a veterinarian so early on in the disease process that we can have significant impact for a horse that does not take a horse out of training to do the diagnostic. I mean, these horses can train the morning of, the day after, and so it's a really unique piece of equipment that we can gain so much information from.
In closing, what was the thought process behind partnering with Hagyard and the enthusiasm behind that decision?
So when we started down this endeavor with Hagyard, the idea was really to provide a service, and we didn't know what it was. When we started the conversation, we didn't know what that was, and ultimately we learned, educated ourselves both as Hagyard and Churchill Downs about the benefits of PET machine to have on site. And so the partnership of bringing in an outside world famous, world renowned equine hospital in with a world famous, world-renowned equine racetrack seemed like a really good pairing so that we could help benefit our industry. Obviously, here in Kentucky, we're the horse capital of the world, and we're super proud of that. And so this was just a unique opportunity to kind of marry those two pieces together, and ultimately the horse benefits from all of it.
And that's what it's all about, helping horses live long, happy, healthy lives and equipping the people who care for them to do just that. That wraps up this episode of The Spirit of Hagyard. And we wanted to extend a special word of thanks to Dr. Farmer from Churchill Downs for talking with us, especially during this busy season for him. As we mentioned, this concludes our series on mild pet diagnostic technology. If you haven't had a chance to watch parts 1 and 2 of the series, please take time to do so. You'll especially want to see the 3D imaging that is unique to this technology that is helping take diagnostics really to a whole new level. It's just more great content brought to you by the Hagyard Equine Medical Institute. Enduring passion, unrivaled expertise.